Questions? Questions? What is that?
Oh,
no, put it in the pocket. Put it in the pocket.
What
15.
15, you got it.
I will say you guys are doing better than our fifth period. Our fifth period, like, no one puts it in the sleeve, and so me and Surf are like, all right, Dean, not even a warning anymore, because
Yep.
none of you will follow direction. So good job, everyone. At least here we won't take it right to the Dean.
All right. So this is problem number 15. Agreed? Gosh, there's an awful lot of stuff going on with this one. So I want to kind of slowly go through it. I'll leave it up there so if you needed to make modifications to it, but don't write everything down that I write. Write down what you need. Okay. So far, would you feel comfortable having that be 10 right there? Outsides? Now, if I multiply the insides, that's not too bad, is it? I mean, what happens if I multiply the insides? What's the result?
16.
Yeah, I wind up getting 16, which is a perfect square, right? Then when I multiply the same bases, what do the exponents do? They add together. So those add together. I'm going to just put this little side note here, and then I'll show you what I'm going to put underneath. So I'm going to put x to the 7th. Is x to the 7th a perfect square, though? No. So what did we talk about yesterday? We have to make one of the exponents. One of them has to be 1. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to break this up so I get x to the 6th and then x to the 1st. So I'm going to replace that down here, just with an x. Is that okay? You following what I've done so far?
Yeah.
All right. So yeah, square root of 16 is 4. What's the square root of x to the 6th? X to the 3rd. Good. 2 goes into 6 3 times. And then the x stays behind. And then you just finish it up and make it look like this. Okay? So jot down whatever you would need on that one. Huh. I just ate a bunch of Skittles. My mouth tastes all sweet.
I don't know how to feel about this comment. I don't know, man. I'm in a weird place right now.
Oh.
Such a weird place.
Well, you left. You should have seen. So I was putting those partitions away.
Yes.
Some parent totally started yelling at me.
Let me guess, Randy.
Oh yeah. He's like,
Why?
don't let me get in your way. I'm like, so he was still sitting, and he was sitting as close as possible. So I undo it, and I step down, and I bring it down, and I carry the one up. And because I stood on where he was sitting, a 175-pound person standing on a wood bleacher, a bleacher's going to move a little bit. Don't let me get in your way. Oh, you're not in my way.
Thank God they won against them. Thank God. Because I was gonna lose it.
Oh, they were just worst behaved people. I'll tell friends, whatever you do, go enjoy all sporting events throughout life. Enjoy it. Just enjoy all games you go to. Participate, enjoy it, have a great time. You don't have to. I mean, do you know that we used to have a woman who would show up to our basketball games years ago, and she would sit with a notebook, and she would just be staring at our students, and she'd write 3rd quarter, 2 minutes, 54 seconds in, or left in the quarter, kid with red sweatshirt and glasses flipped off the other team. And she would write down, and then she'd give it to Mr. Wilkins going, here, this is what all your students are doing. She would just come to the game. And I finally told her, I said, you don't have to be here. You're just here trying to grade the students. You have no idea what's going on there. I have the right to be here. I said, no, you don't. We're going to trespass you.
You can do that.
Do it.
I actually did ask,
That's not
like,
bad.
if we could actually not have that assistant coach be there, because he gets so psychotic.
A lot of the coaches.
Now, needless to say, what was the nicest thing we did for him last night? Hey, coach, you don't have your game sheet in yet.
No, and he gave me 3 dirty looks.
And
rolled
and
his eyes at me,
and
like, oh.
being that he didn't have his game sheet in right away, they could have been penalized a point.
Who was it? Which coach?
Grandview.
We're-
So we helped him not get a point taken against him.
As you can tell, we're a little bitter about
Ah.
it. Went last night.
I'm just
Cherry Creek one.
yeah.
But we won, right?
yeah.
My
Okay, that's
my
all that
5th
matters.
grade teacher.
Yes, sir. 14. I'm with you. All right. Hey, is it okay if we move off this one? I'll do number 14 next. Boys volleyball.
Varsity?
Yeah.
Y'all get aggressive
Oh,
in
oh,
volleyball?
oh.
I'll just say that some adults think that they're more than what they really are, and it's like, dude, just participate and enjoy. Huh?
Here. Sachin? I won.
Yeah, main gym. All right. So this is a good one to ask about. Thank you, Mr. Rice, for asking about this one. So I have kind of a whole bunch of stuff. And again, let me just go through it slowly. So in this case, I think I could probably I could probably multiply 6 and 3 together. And the reason I could say I could multiply them together is it's a smaller number. I mean, if the 6 and the 3 were like 45 and 86, I'd maybe go a different route. So maybe let's just look at this way for a sec. I'm going to put it all under one radical. Can I break 6 down to 6 and 3?
2 and 3.
2 and 3. Yeah.
He said 6
I-
and 3.
I wrote down and I said something different. I'm lost my mind. All right, and then this other 3 comes down. All right, so now let me just pause there for a minute. Does that make sense what I have written up there? Now, I haven't done anything with the letters yet, agree?
You would have to split up the 3 though.
So, hey, let me ask you this. What of those numbers right now would create a perfect square? The 3. 3 times 3 is 9. Square root of 9 is 3. Okay? So I'm kind of doing this like out of order a little bit, but I know a 3 is going to be outside right now because of that. Okay? All right, now I'm going to put my x's underneath. Now, my friends, should I combine the x's together or should I leave them as is for right now? Leave them as is. Why is that?
Because they don't have the same exponent.
Well, what's one of the exponents versus the other? On the x's only.
One's a 2 and
One's a 2. And if it's a 2, that's an even number. And if it's an even number, that means it's a perfect square, right? All right, so let me highlight something here. I just want you to see this. This right here is a perfect square as it sits. Okay? The x by itself is not a perfect square. So if I were to take the square root of this x, I would get an x that's going to come out front. And I highlighted it. So that's where this one came from. And then the y squareds, they both happen to be perfect squares. That's a perfect square and that's a perfect square. Okay? So remember yesterday when I took the square root of the square root of something and times the square root of the exact same something, I got just the something. So if I did this, so if I went root this times this, what does the answer have to be? Close. Y squared. Very good. Okay, that was from yesterday's notes. Good job, Marks. All right, so that means these y's here form a perfect square. So I get a y squared outside because they happen to have 2 of them. Okay? And now I kind of have a whole jumble of stuff. So things I have left over, I have this 2 left over, and I have this x left over. And that whole thing's my answer. So I don't know if I made it more confusing trying to put way too many colors and too many lines. But I'm just trying to show you how things will break down for you. So I guess what I could do is I could write down, I can say this, and this, and this, and this. That's basically all that's taking place. What other problems did you see? What else do you see? Got it. Number 11. That's a good one to ask about because that's a nice bigger number, and I appreciate you doing that. All right, number 11. So I get root 72, x to the third, y to the fourth. All right, so for the 72, because it's a larger number, I'm going to list my perfect squares. Okay, so 72 falls basically in there. So where does the perfect square work? 64 is not going to work because 64 times 2 is 128, so that didn't work. 49 times 2 is 98. 36 times 2 is 72. Okay, notice how I found my biggest perfect square just by going through that. So I know this. How can I make x to the third have a perfect square? Split it up, yeah. So one part's going to be x squared, and the other part's going to be x. And then y to the fourth, excuse me, is a perfect square. Okay, so square root of 36, 6. Square root of x squared, just x, because 2 goes into 2 one time. Square root of y to the fourth. Y to the second, because 2 goes into 4 twice. What do I have left under the radical sign now?
2 and an x.
2 and an x. That's it. Is there anything else I can help you with? No, there's no pi up there.
So you just leave the 2 in there?
Yeah,
Okay.
because the 2 is not a perfect square.
Yeah.
Any other problems off of there? That yeah, 12. That's a good one too. Thank you for asking on that one. Can I move off the screen? All right, number 12. We have 7, and then we have square root 12 x to the 6th, y to the 4th. Okay, so if I list my perfect squares, I don't have to list too many. Which one of those would work to multiply to get 12? Which one of these perfect squares work to get to 12? 4. Yeah, 4 times 3, right? Is x raised to the 6th power a perfect square? Yeah, it's an even number, therefore it's a perfect square. Is y to the 4th a perfect square? Yeah, it's also an even number. So I'm just trying to get the perfect squares all out. All right, so the 7 stays there. Square root of 4. 2. Square root of 3, I don't know. Square root of x to the 6th power. What's half of 6? 3. X to the third. What's the square root of y to the 4th power? How many times 2 go into 4?
2.
And then I'm just left back with a root 3. So clean it up. I can multiply those numbers together. And there it is. We good? Happy? Anyone crying themselves asleep yet?
Me.
Me too.
Don't be me tonight.
And hey, friends, I'm not going to worry too much about the word problems on the back. Just skip them by. So will you go to Solving Quadratics number 4 notes? I believe it's 137. It's a little different page, but it says, that's the one. You're following along just fine, my friend. All right. All right. So I think we could do these pretty well. This is just the warm-up. If I go root 11 times root 11, what is my answer? Just 11. Okay? If I go root 6 times root 6, what is my answer? 6. If I go root 157 times root 157, I get 157. If I go root xy times root xy, I get xy. I thought I heard it, but I wasn't sure. All right. So we're feeling pretty good about that, I hope. I hope. It's kind of a shortcut. I know a lot of times. Whoa, hey, wait.
Whoa.
You dropped an S-bomb. You know, when I was in elementary school, I'm sure you could imagine I was part of this group. So the teacher used to go, shh. And the rest of us would go, it.
Oh,
Stop doing that. Shh. It. Oh, I don't know what. I bet you those teachers I had in elementary school, especially because Steve Zabinski was in most of my classes. This is who Steve Zabinski was. If we used to walk to school when we were kids. Steve Zabinski didn't live by us, but he came to our same school. Steve Zabinski, on his way to school every day in 4th grade, brought a different dog to school. He'd walk by somebody's yard, realize they had a dog, open their gate, take their dog, and bring it to school.
wait, is his name Steve?
Yeah.
Oh my God, my uncle would do that. His name is Steve.
Yeah, Steve
He also
Zabinski.
got bit by a goose because he tried to steal a goose and put it as his so Frank got bit and had big stitches. So geese have teeth, so don't chase them.
Oh, it never happened to me yesterday.
All right.
Trouble.
Here we go. You guys ready?
Yep.
Everything. You name it, he did it.
Same with my uncle too.
All right.
What if
So,
Steve is here? What if Steve is here?
unfortunately, Steve Zabinski passed away a few years ago.
And my uncle was called Steve Funk.
Oh.
All right. You ready? So, we have a fraction in which it has a radical, a square root sign, on the bottom in the denominator. Yes? Now, it's kind of a no-no in math to have a square root sign in the denominator, but it's not the biggest no-no in the world, but rationalizing denominators will help you in evolving with certain problems. So what we're gonna do, let me do this. If I had 3 over 5 as a fraction, and I were to multiply the top and the bottom both by 2 to get 6 over 10, is 6 over 10 an equivalent fraction to 3 over 5?
Yeah.
So I don't change the size of the fraction by multiplying the top and bottom by the exact same number. Agree?
What if you multiply it by 3?
So
Then it's a square.
what if I multiply both top and the bottom by root 3 and root 3? Am I changing the size of the fraction?
No.
No. Okay, so 1 times root 3 is? Probably root 3. Root 3 times root 3 is?
Root 9.
Go back to this one. Just 3. Okay, so yes, I do have a 3 that's under the radical, and I have a 3 that's not in the radical. One's on the top, one's on the bottom. That is the final answer. So 1 over root 3 is the same thing as root 3 over 3.
Is it a no-no to have a root in the denominator as your answer? Is that incorrect?
We want to steer away from that because that'll help them along when they get to Algebra 2 and college algebra and
So
trigonometry.
maybe put as a no, do not have roots in your denominator as your answer. That's something you might want to add onto your paper as a note.
But I'll tell you, I have mixed emotions about this because I'm certified to teach all math. I'm certified to teach physics, biology, and chemistry. In the world of physics, you can have a radical in the denominator. So I'm torn because I know the world of physics allows it, but the world of math doesn't. So I'm like, oh.
Do you teach science here too? Or just math?
No, I've yet to teach science, but yeah, thank goodness. All right, so same idea. Ready? What do you think I should do to both top and bottom of this fraction? Multiply by what? Root 7 or root 7? So 14 times root 7, do you think it would be 14 root 7 as an answer? Sure it would. Think of the root 7 as like an x. Is 14 times x 14x? Yeah. Is 14 root 7 14 root 7? Yeah. Root 7 times root 7 is what? 7. Okay. Now you get into a little bit. You got to make sure you take care of this. This 14 is not in the radical, and this 7 is not in the radical. Agree? We have to reduce the fraction. How many times does 7 go into 14? Twice. So we reduce. So my answer comes out to 2 root 7.
Wait, well, it'd be 2 over 1.
Oh, I could put it over 1, but a number over 1 is always the number. This isn't too bad, I don't think. Maybe we might as well just give the homework now. Nah, we got a couple more examples. The nice thing is the homework's only 1 page for tonight. All right. Friends, what do I do? What do I do? What do you think you got in your ear? Times by root 2. Times by root 2. You got the answer right, too. Good job. So on top, 4 root 2. Root 2 times root 2 has to be what? 2. Are there numbers outside of the square root that can be reduced? 4 over 2 is what? Yeah, so I get 2 root 2 because that reduces. All right. Are you ready for number 2? It's fine, but I just want to see. Okay, 200 is a pretty big number. Agree? So can anyone think what perfect square times another number would give me 200? 100 times 2. Very good. Now, the reason I'm going to do that, don't write anything down yet. I just want you to follow along. Do you feel comfortable with this so far? Does that make sense? Now, I could at this point reduce 5 and 10 because they're both outside the radical. But the problem's not done because I still have the radical in the denominator. But what I did is I broke down the radical in the denominator before I went any further. So let's just kind of think about this. Could this and this reduce? Well, hopefully if you're listening to me, I said yeah. So you get this, which is going to give me 1 over 2 root 2. Okay? Now, what do you think I should do to that 1 over 2 root 2?
Times root 2.
Yeah, just times. So I want to get rid of that radical on the bottom. So I'm going to multiply the top and the bottom by root 2 and root 2. So 1 times root 2 is root 2. Okay. I'm just going to do this so I don't run out of room. Okay. If I multiply root 2 times root 2, what do I get? Root 2 times root 2, what do I get? 2, but I have that original 2. So I get 2 times this is going to give me 2. So that gives me a 4 as the denominator. So root 2 over 4 is the answer. But there's other ways you could do this problem, and you don't have to write this way as well, but I could have done this problem this way. Oops, 100. 50. So I could have done it this way as well, where those reduce, and then that gives me root 2 over 4. Okay, now Which way does it work best for you? I don't know. Some of you might see the top way very well. Some of you might see the bottom way. Some of you might see a combination of the two. As long as you get the answer that I got, I'm pretty happy about it. All right, so I don't know if you have to copy both of those down. I don't think we'll give you anything quite that mean and nasty and horrible. No, we're pretty good. All right, problem number 3. We good? Ready? All right, friends, what do you think I should multiply top and bottom by? Root 3, root 3. So on top, I get 3 root 3 over root 3 times root 3 gives me 3. So the 2 times 3 gives me 6. What reduces? Do those reduce? Yeah, 3 goes in itself. Goes in there twice. Root 3 over 2. Do you guys want to know what has an answer of root 3 over 2? Sine of 60 degrees. Now you don't have to take trig. You're all set. Did you remember that, Stone? No, you didn't. All right. Last one. What should I multiply top and bottom by? Were you done?
No, it's fine.
Here, I'll give it to you.
No, it's okay.
You're good.
Like is struggle.
What'd I do?
Like is struggle.
What you got going over there, Cupcake?
Okay.
All good? Everyone else good? Would anybody like to tell me how to do this problem?
The root 2.
Multiply root 2 over 2. Good, good, good. So I get 2 root 2 on top. Root 2 times root 2 is what? Root 2 is root 4. Root 4 is what? Root 4. Square root of 4. Oh, you just went backwards. You regressed on me. It is 2. It is 2. So remember, when I have the exact same 2 radicals, the answer is just this. Because if I multiply those together, it gives me a perfect square. And then you take the square root to get there. All right. And then I get 5 times 2, which is 10. And then I can reduce here and here. That's 1. That's 5. So I get root 2 over 5. There it is. All right. Page 139 and 140. All. You will find a nice surprise on 140 because it's blank.
How much work to do on page 1?
Yep.